Says seniors who can laugh at life, themselves, and even their kids stay young at heart. Laughing often lowers stress and keeps life lighthearted. A playful spirit helps people feel younger at any age and is better than any wrinkle cream.
Absolutely.
You know how much a lot of those wrinkle creams cost? My goodness.
They're so
For a
expensive.
little bitty.
Yes.
You can save some money.
You can save, just laugh.
Yeah, just laugh.
That's much
Just
more
laugh.
cost effective.
Yeah.
But I think that's so true. I know, and I can say, my daughter and I laugh all the time. She is one of the funniest people I know. And we talk about how my mom was a hilarious person, not because, she was like a comedian, but just because she could laugh at herself. She could laugh at her own mistakes or, she was
I
just
love that.
such a joy to be around. And we talk about, my daughter caught my mom Nana, and we just talk about even now how funny Nana was and how we would just come around Nana and we would just laugh because she was so much fun to be around. And that's like you said, that's how I want to be.
Yeah, I have. I think I don't remember if I mentioned it, but in my mom's family, there were 8 girls and 4 boys. So there were 12 of them.
That's a big family.
That's a big family. And there are only 3 of them left of those 12. But my Aunt Patsy, and she must be 97. She's the funniest person you will ever meet. Kim, I'm telling you, if I'm feeling low, I just call her. I don't even you can't get a word in edgewise, and everything she says is funny. And so I don't care how low you feel, she has you laugh. Belly laugh. I say, Aunt Patsy, you can't say that. And she just says it. And then she'll say, because you can't get a word in edgewise, she'll say, well, you ought to call me more often. I won't talk so long. I won't have to tell it all at one time. She always ends the conversation after she's talked your ear off. I love being around her. Welcome to Get Real with Alexis Jones. On this podcast, we'll dive into real relationships with real people guided by the wisdom and perspective of some of the most seasoned voices in our community, our beloved seniors. Each week, we'll unpack the joys, challenges, and lessons learned about love, family, friendship, and everything in between. This is a space for heartfelt conversations, eye-opening truths, and powerful stories that will inspire and challenge the way you think about relationships. We're keeping it honest, unfiltered, and deeply meaningful. So settle in and let's get ready to get real. Let's jump in. Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Real with Alexis. I am Alexis and I am here with my good friend, Dr. Kim Redding. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Doing well.
How was your day at work?
Busy. It was a busy week. So it was like I was just trying to get to Friday, But I'm glad to be here, glad to be relaxing, talking with you. So it's like I made it.
I always tease Kim about retiring. I tell her, you need to retire because, see, she looks forward to Friday, and Friday for me is just another day.
I don't even
just rub it in.
I know what that feels like.
Friday does not excite me anymore. It's just a wonderful thing.
Oh my gosh.
So today we are tackling a fun subject, I think. We're going to talk about how do seniors stay young? Now, whenever I'm trying to decide what we're going to talk about, there has to be something that inspires me in some way, or else I'm just a blank. But today, I think it was my upcoming birthday. And, we always say to each other, you look so young, you look so good, and all that. And so it made me think, well, how do we stay young? Because the numbers are going to continue to increase if we're still here, right? But how do we stay youthful and vibrant and engaged in life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So have you heard the term age is just a number?
All the time.
What do you think about that?
I think it's true. I think it's true because when you talk about how do we stay young, and then the next thing you said was how are we continue to be youthful? And I think those are two different things. Because I think young really is more about the number, and youthful is more about your outlook, your perspective, how you think, how you feel, how you live in the world and view the world.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Big difference between being youthful and young.
Yeah.
Because we're not young.
And we can't be young.
And we can't be. We cannot turn
that is out of our control.
Totally. I'm thinking about the odometer in the car. You know, some people say, well, I think that mechanic turned it back. Well, we can't mechanically turn this back.
No, we can't.
Every year that number goes up. So we can only change the things that we can, as the Serenity Prayer teaches us.
Right.
And so today, speaking of being youthful, I was talking with a gentleman who goes to my center, and he was sitting across the table from me when we were eating lunch. And he said something, I caught the tail end of it. And he said something about, how did he phrase that? A complaint-free day. Something about, and I didn't know if he was declaring a complaint-free day or from him or the people around him. But because the guy is really positive. He's just a really pleasant person to talk to be around. He never has that grimace look on his face, and he travels. He's living. So I suspect maybe he's declaring that for the people around him, like when they start complaining.
Like, look, this is a complaint-free day. I don't want to hear it.
That's what I was thinking as he was talking, because I cannot see him complaining very much. So how important is positivity? And let me ask the second part of that so you could just talk about it. And how do you remain positive when the circumstances around you are negative, are difficult, you're struggling?
Right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. And I think one that we struggle with at different times about how do you remain positive when the outlook may not feel so positive sometimes. And I think that really is about attitude. It's about your perspective. I think sometimes it's also about realizing that there are things that you control and things that you can't control. And so I think when you realize that you can only control, like I can only control, we've had this conversation before. I can't control you. I can't control how you're going to respond. I can't control how you're going to react. I can't control what you're going to say.
Right.
But I can control how I respond, how I receive. I can control what I say. And so I think part of that plays into positivity is really understanding the things that you can control and the things that are out of your control. And then, living within that construct.
Absolutely. I was thinking as you were talking simply about acceptance.
Yeah.
Which is basically what you're saying. I can't control it, so I might as well accept it. And acceptance doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it or I like it. It's just I can't control it. So my peace and my joy, and if I can be positive, it has to come from a place of acceptance, because we're all going to experience negative circumstances.
Exactly. And something that, I don't know if I told you this coaching program that I'm enrolled in. So I think I may have shared that with you. So I'm really working on my coaching certification and becoming a coach. So we were in this session on Monday, actually. And so one of the people in the class, we practice coaching each other on different activities and events. And so this particular person was talking about a really difficult situation that they were faced with at work. And the more they were coached in it, it was like there were so many things that were out of this person's control. And so then as we started discussing it, it came back to, okay, so these are things you can't control this, but what you can control and what we were talking about coaching this person around was, but how are you going to show up in this situation? So you can't control that, but what you can control is how you show up in here.
Yes.
How are you going to deal with this?
Yes.
Who's the person you want to be in
Mhm.
this situation? How do you want to deal with this? And so that was the coaching opportunity there.
Absolutely.
And that to me was just like, wow, because we're often faced with so many situations that we may not be able to control, but we can control how we show up. We
Right.
can control who we are.
Yeah.
And given all of those things, we still have control over the person I want to be in that situation, how I'm going to show up. And I thought that was such a powerful thing for me to kind of understand, like there'll be many things that I can't control, but I get to decide how I want to
How
show
you want
up.
to show up.
How am I going to show
Absolutely.
up?
It's a
You know,
decision.
it's a decision. It's a
And I may need help after making that decision. I may need help. I was thinking about, and I always go back to this because I guess it's so recent. When Herman passed, that's traumatic. And, a lot of times when people experience loss, whatever the loss is devastating. And it can cause you to be in a state of anger, depression, guilt, shame, whatever those feelings are. And you may experience those things, but you can't stay there unless you want to stay there. I remember early in this grief journey, we have my younger son, and I have these heart-to-heart conversations. And I can't remember what we were saying leading up to this question, but at one point he said, "Well, Mom, do you want to feel better?" And this was early on. And I said, "No, I don't want to feel better. I don't want to feel better." And I was telling him the truth. And that kind of goes along with what you're saying. I could have said to him a nice, hopeful answer like, "Yeah, I really want to feel better. I don't right now, but I want to." But my answer was, "No, I don't want to feel better because my son is gone. I am devastated and I don't want to feel better. But I do want to feel better. I'm grieving." And that's what I was feeling at the time. But what I've learned is if I want to feel better, I might need some help. So that's the other part of the decision, because I can't just feel better if I'm just devastated by this traumatic loss, but I can get help. I can get help and take the time. So whatever the situation is that we struggle with, and we all struggle with some things, whole lot of things, we have to make a decision at some point, as you said, how do I want to show up? This is bad, but at some point we have to ask ourselves that question.
Yeah, that's true. And I was thinking, like, when you were talking too, that it's also important, I think, you got to be true to yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. And you have to be honest with where you are and how you're feeling. Because I think the other thing is that sometimes, for whatever reason, we want to not acknowledge something that's going on, or we want to pretend that it's not. We don't want to accept it. And I think that an important part of deciding how you want to show up is being honest with yourself about how you're feeling and what's going on. And then, like you said, being honest about when I need some help with this,
Yeah.
because I can't do this by myself. This
Right.
is bigger than me right now. But I think that you have to be honest with yourself
I
and be
agree.
willing to admit that, and we don't always want to do that.
No, we don't. And I don't know why I do. With reckless abandon, I will face wherever I am unapologetically. I just will. But I know that's difficult for many people. And I think sometimes it's because of where we're expected to be, right? Like if someone experiences a loss, society might give you a certain time to get over that, to get past that. But when that happened to me, I kind of rebelled and said, "No, you can't rush me. This was a great loss. You can't rush me. I have to get there." And I'm not there. When I was angry, now the anger has subsided, but I was so angry. I shared that with you.
Yeah.
And I told you and other people close to me, "I'm angry. And this is why I'm angry." I told God I was angry. I'm angry because authentically, that's how I felt. I was wrestling with all these emotions. And I agree with you. You cannot get to where you want to be until you acknowledge honestly where you are.
Yeah. I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are some top ways that seniors keep that youthful spark alive. That's what we're going to talk about. The first is staying physically active. So for those of you that like to sit on your sofa all day, I'm talking to you. So why is that important?
Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And our bodies were made to be used. And many of us have to be intentional about using it. I always have this, like my daughter and I have this conversation because my daughter works out all the time and she walks all the time. And she's like, and I'm like, you're always walking, you're always working out. She said, Mommy, she said, I work 100% from home. She was like, the most walking I do in a day is from my bedroom to the kitchen to my at-home office. She said, if I'm not intentional about the physical activity, I won't get it, And that's really true. And I think that, when you think about like our ancestors and I mean, I even think about even like when I was in high school, because the high school that I went to, like junior high and high school, it was a long way from my house. And we walked to school every day. We didn't have cars, people didn't drop us off. We walked to school. And so I am sure just as a part, and then of my normal physical activity of my normal day, I got miles of physical activity in. And then you're active at school. I was a cheerleader. And then you're just running around campus.
I didn't know you were a cheerleader. What?
All 4 years of high school.
I'm learning something new.
I was a cheerleader.
God. I think we should see you cheer.
Oh, I will. I still remember my cheers.
Do you really?
Yes.
Did you do what are some of those?
Like I was a big jumper, so I could do a lot of the jumps. My tumbling was good enough to get on the squad. So round offs, walkovers, cartwheels, things like that.
I couldn't do any of that.
So I could do those things, but I was a cheerleader. So
that's cool.
And so, but it was like physical activity was just what I did.
Yeah.
So I literally never thought about exercising and never really thought about what I ate because one, I was younger, but also physically active. And we're not that physically active as a society and as humans anymore.
That's true.
And so some people that, may have more, labor intensive jobs may be more physically active. But most of us, if we're not intentional about our physical activity, then we're not going to get it in. And the body was muscles, joints, they were made to be moved.
Yes.
And they really do feel better when you move them.
They do.
Even like when you may have like some knee aches and pains and joints hurting and you think, oh, it hurts. But when you move them, it really makes them feel better.
It does. Now
it's like
part,
you oil those joints up and, you get stuff moving around.
That is so amazing to me.
It is.
Because I've always had knee flare-ups, right? Osteoarthritis. And so I can have days where there'll be a flare-up and I feel like I can hardly walk. I will make myself exercise, whether it's walking or going to what works for me, and this is so crazy, is I go to the gym and I do strength training. And I get on that machine with the leg press. And you have to press that weight now my knees are hurting now, but when I finish the exercises and I stretch, the pain is gone. It's amazing to me.
It's almost counterintuitive. You think, oh, I got to rest it, but it's like you use it. And then the other thing is like when you have joint pains and when you strengthen those muscles around the joints, it helps support that joint. And so it helps long term. And so our bodies were made to move. And so when we talk about being youthful and remaining youthful, we got to get up and we got to move and we got to use those bodies. We got to do what they were designed to do.
Yeah.
And that's move.
What's your favorite way to move?
I love to walk. So I like walking. I mean, sometimes I'll get up around where we live and I have a path that I've mapped out. I'll walk 5 miles. Like I'll get up, on the weekends and I'll walk 5 miles. So I love walking. And then, I guess it's been a couple years now. I do the Orange Theory workouts. And so I like that because I like the weight training because it strengthens and I really feel better. And so I can get walking, I can get weight training, and I do the bikes. I used to do the rower, but my shoulders are like, okay, that's a little much. But I do the bike. So I like that because it's structured. And for me, it's like, okay, I don't have to think about what I need to do. It's like I get up, all I have to do is make it to class. And then I just do what they tell me. In an hour, I'm done. And I've worked all these muscle groups I would never on my own have been able to figure out. So I like that. So those I used to do jazzercise for years.
I loved it. Me too.
Oh my gosh. I loved jazzercise. So I did that and really stopped that when COVID hit. But I did it up until COVID.
Is that still out there?
It's still out there.
Kidding?
In fact, there is a jazzercise studio not far from where we live.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's the one I used to go to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I like water aerobics.
Okay.
But it has to be an instructor that's good with water aerobics because everybody can't teach aerobics in the water. And so I go to a couple of specific instructors for that. And it's a really good workout. Is there something about the water?
I've never done water aerobics. Is the water cold when you get in
No,
it?
unless something's wrong with the heater.
Okay.
They keep it at a certain temperature and, it's close to 90, if not 90. So I like it a little bit cool because we work in that water. So it's a lot of fun. A great workout. We use the weights, the water weights and the tubes and she has us doing all kind of crazy for every part of the body. Crunches. And there's this one exercise, I call it suntan Superman, where you lay on your back and then you have to use your core muscles to come up and then lay on your stomach. And you have
the water?
Oh, yeah. You're laying on top of the water. And then you do your core muscles.
So do you have to be able to float on top of the water to do that?
Yeah, you do have to be able to float. You can do it with weights. We do it with weights.
Okay.
It's real easy to do with weights. Yeah, we have weights in each hand. So the weights keep you on top of the water.
Okay.
So my hands are out like this and you crunch to get on your tummy. You crunch again to get on your back. And I mean, it takes some strength to go from tummy to back.
Yeah.
So and then we'll do T-jacks, which is your arms are like here. And your feet, you're in the T. And when the arms come down, the legs go out instead of the normal jumping jack.
Okay.
But you got weights in your hands, so you're pressing into that water all the way down.
And that's that resistance you're pressing against in that water
it's
too.
Some serious strength training we do in that class.
Wow.
So you got to go sometime. So I like water aerobics. I love line dancing. Line dancing is excellent because you get the cardio, but the brain is working. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. So you got to think because your brain has got to tell your feet what to do. So I like that. Let's see, what else do I enjoy doing? I like walking, probably not as much as you do, but I enjoy it. Kind of therapeutic for me, being out in nature and taking a walk. Yeah, I like that.
And I know we said we're going to talk about it, but the thing with walking too, and what has been shown is that when you walk, a lot of times I walk and I like to listen to music, but I'm not always conscious of the music. It's like I'm conscious of what's around me and it's warm, the sun, and sometimes I don't listen to music because I just want to be in the moment. Walking, and when you do those kind of exercises where you don't have to really focus, it's like you're just kind of letting your mind go, is where you can do some of your best problem solving and thinking and not even realize it because your mind is kind of replaying so many things as you walk. And a lot of times that's where your creative energy or your problem solving comes from just the exercise of walking. And so to me, not only does it help like with the physical activity, but a lot of times I can just walk if I feel stressed and just suddenly it's like your mind, you don't even realize it, but things will start clicking and ideas and, well, I can do this. So it's therapeutic in so many ways.
It really is. Being out in nature especially. Don't get that from a treadmill.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't get that.
You
might get that physical exercise, but not the endorphins and all of that.
Yeah.
So stretching is great for seniors.
Yes.
How important is that?
It's very important because again, and it goes along because you should stretch before you exercise and you should stretch after you exercise because it really keeps you from being injured, like muscle injury. Again, it just helps with that muscle movement. It helps with joint movement.
Yeah.
And so stretching is very important. And so are activities like yoga and things like that, that's the stretching and all. But I know, and I don't always do it like I should, but even before you walk, you should stretch because it warms up the muscles, it gets them ready for exercise. And then afterwards, it really helps prevent some of that muscle soreness too.
And stiffness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I have a really good workout and I don't stretch afterwards, I notice I'll get stiff.
Yeah.
And sore.
Yeah.
Especially.
Stretching is very important too.
I think that's really important for seniors. Let's see. What else? Movement. We just talked about movement. I wrote a sentence here that says, so let's be honest, who doesn't want to be that person in their 70s still winning dance-offs at the family reunion? I do.
I know.
I enjoy dancing those little young folks under the table. I enjoy it. They get tired and sit down.
And you realize it does make a difference.
It does.
Being physically active and maintaining physical activity, it really does make a difference. I mean, I've been around people, at functions, reunions, other places, and I'm up, wanting to dance, have a good time. And people are like sitting down because they're tired. It's like in my mind, I'm like, oh, are you tired?
Yeah. Hear this good news?
Yeah, but it really does make a difference. It does make a difference.
If you're not physically active, if you're not moving, you're just going to be sluggish and tired.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to keeping the mind sharp. And this is the next thing when we talk about how do we stay youthful. I'll say youthful since youthful is a different connotation than young. So keeping the mind sharp. Youthfulness isn't just in the body, it's in the brain.
Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. One is because I think feeling youthful, it's physical, but it's also a state of mind. So it's a state of being, how you think, how you perceive things. So I think that's part of it. But then, research has shown, again, the brain is like the rest of our body. If you don't use it, you lose it.
You lose it.
And sitting there passively watching TV is not using your brain.
No.
It is not using your brain.
No
it requires, like I always tell my students, learning is effortful. You have to put effort forward. You have to do something with it. And so that's important. So activities that are effortful, that make you think, it doesn't mean they have to be hard, but they require effort. So things like puzzles, word searches, can you find, even board games, card games, things that engage your mind and
where
make
you have to
think.
think.
Yeah.
You have to think.
It's really important because if you don't, it really is truly like anything else. If you don't use it, you will lose it.
You will lose it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd like to talk just for a second about learning new technology.
Yes.
Because a lot of seniors are like, I don't do that. I talk to my grandchildren. They just do it for me. I have a really good friend. She won't do any of this. She'll check text messages and she'll write them, but that's it. So I sent her some information. All you had to do was kind of click on it. And she said, I got to wait till I get to my daughter, and that's common among a lot of seniors.
Yeah.
So, one time I encouraged her to take a basic computer class, just learn some basics, but she's so intimidated by technology.
Yeah.
So a good way, to get those brain cells working is to try to learn some new technology.
New technology, a new language.
A new language.
Read.
Read.
What are your interests? All of that is so important. Learn a new skill, a craft.
Yes.
Go to, ceramics class. Learn something new.
Because anytime you are learning, you're exercising that brain.
It's effortful.
Yeah.
You're engaged. So find something that you'd like to do, but
Yes.
that challenges you to learn
Yeah.
it. And the wonderful thing is that we never lose our capacity to learn.
Isn't that wonderful?
Never lose our capacity to learn. I don't know. I may have shared with you, like my dad, who is now 93, but up until he got really ill and like couldn't do it anymore. My father at 90 was a radio DJ.
Really?
Yes, for a community radio station in Kansas City, and his name is Bill. So his radio, his on-air name was Mr. Bill, and he loved salsa and blues music, and so that was his show, and he had, like, a following, people who knew Mr. Bill, and my dad he was 90 years old, and he's at the station working the audio boards and doing all that, putting his shows together and everything, and he still enjoys doing that. He's just not able to do it since he got sick, but my dad was
Yeah.
90 years old and
Oh
he was a
my
DJ.
goodness.
Yeah, you know.
That's incredible because I know what it takes
Yeah.
to maneuver and manipulate those
Yeah, and he,
audio
like,
boards.
did all the
Yeah.
audio boards and all. I mean,
Oh, wow.
so that to me was my example that,
Mhm.
you never stop learning, that you're the only one that can set limits on what you can do. And
I
so,
think you said something really
yeah,
important is to find something you enjoy.
yeah,
Because if you enjoy it, you'll stick with it.
you'll stick with
Mhm,
it. And that's so
mhm.
important. Yeah.
What about nurturing social connections? And then I had a subnote here. Friendships are a fountain of youth.
Yeah. That again, there's research and lots of literature that shows the importance of social connections.
Mhm.
And so one of the things when we talk about the social determinants of health, and I think we've talked about that before, and all of these factors that impact health, and social connectedness is a very important factor that impacts health. So there have been lots of studies that have shown that people that are socially isolated have worse and poorer health outcomes than
Yes.
people who are connected. So it's not just, oh, I'm lonely. It really impacts your health. And so that is just an indication of how important social connections are.
So important.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
Like today, I make those connections intentionally, but today I had a lot to do here. I'm just behind on so much, but I felt like I got to get out of here. So I went to the center. And I sat and ate lunch and talked to friends and laughed, and got my mind off. And when I came back, I was in a better place to get some things done. But I could not do that prior. I needed the connection. And if you live alone, you really have to be intentional.
You really have
Yeah.
to be intentional because it's so easy to become isolated when you're alone. And the other thing is that it's harder to naturally have those connections when you get older.
Yes.
Because when you're younger, you're in school, you're in activities, you're college, when you're working,
Yeah.
you're part of the workforce, you're going to work. But I think, when you retire, you don't have that daily interaction with people when you're going to work. And so you really do have to be very intentional. Because those opportunities aren't just there. They're just not part of your everyday. And so I
because
think
you could stay in every day and just isolate.
right.
A lot of seniors do that.
And so I think, like the center where you go, which I find absolutely intriguing. I think also your church can be a really important source of socialization.
Absolutely.
And so being engaged and active in your church, I think is really important.
That's really
Volunteering.
Volunteering
You're never
is great.
too old to volunteer. So being active and volunteer, like in your community. If there are those opportunities, if there's a homeowners association or a community neighborhood board or things like that. So all of those are really important. And then even just, part-time, like non-paid part-time work. Maybe you go to the library once a week and you work at the circulation, volunteer in the library or something like that.
Kim, it's amazing how much better you feel when you've given of yourself just for a little while, just for an hour or two. You come back and you have as Patti LaBelle says, a whole new attitude.
A whole new, it's true. And it's not just that you're helping someone else, but you're helping yourself too. And so all of those social interactions, all of those, feeling like you're contributing, those are all very important and have research proven health benefits.
Absolutely.
Health
Absolutely.
benefits, yeah.
Okay, so you named all the other thing. I wrote down was laughter with others keeps wrinkles at bay, at least the sad kind.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing like a good laugh.
Nothing.
Nothing like a good laugh.
A good belly laugh.
A good belly laugh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Laughter really is good medicine, isn't it?
It really is. That's really true. So I think all of that plays into our maintaining our youthfulness.
Yes. Yes.
And then I think the other thing too, and you and I have had this conversation before, and I think a lot of times as women, we place so much emphasis on our physical self and how we look. And we were just laughing. We were saying this segment is not about wrinkle creams and all that, but
Right.
it is a billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
Wrinkle creams, all the stuff we do to maintain our youthfulness or youth. But I think part of it too is feeling comfortable in your own skin.
Yes.
Being
Yes.
happy with who you are. And I
Yes.
think all these other things, help you feel good about who you are.
I agree.
So I think all that we talked about can help you feel good about who you are. And I think
Yeah.
that's such an important component about being youthful and being happy, because that's what we're talking about.
We are. We are.
Yeah.
So this youthfulness starts from the inside out.
It really does, and I think as a society, we put so much emphasis on being young, and we set standards that are impossible to live up to. Why? Because we're all getting older, and like we said, we can't control that. And so it's almost like you get punished for something that you have no control
Right.
over.
Instead of embracing it.
Right.
And being the best I can at that stage in my life.
And that's a culture, that's a this country culture, because there are some cultures that really celebrate aging, and it's a wonderful thing, but we tend to kind of want to run away from it and deny it and not own it. But I think, being comfortable in your own skin, accepting who you are is a really important part of maintaining your youthfulness and realizing that at any age, you have so much to offer.
Yeah. I think there's nothing more beautiful than a gentleman or a woman who ages gracefully, meaning that they are content and happy and enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
I always talk to my friends, but I don't want to be old and cranky. And your family's only around you because they have to
Right.
be. Because, we get cranky. You sit at home all day and then you can get really cranky because you're not engaged in life. You don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So now you're thinking, why won't anybody come see me? They don't love me. I mean, all of those thoughts come into play if you're not engaged in life yourself intentionally.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to age gracefully, and I want people to want to be around me. So I'm working at that.
Well, so far you're doing an excellent job.
So what you have to do is start a podcast to get people to come over. See? This is how I get her to come over to see me. Okay, so keep a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just talked about how laughter is good medicine. Says seniors who can laugh at life, themselves, and even their kids stay young at heart. Laughing often lowers stress and keeps life lighthearted. A playful spirit helps people feel younger at any age and is better than any wrinkle cream.
Absolutely.
You know how much a lot of those wrinkle creams cost? My goodness.
They're so
For a little bitty.
Yes. Yes.
You can save some money.
You can say, just laugh.
Yeah, just laugh.
That's much
Just
more
laugh.
cost effective.
Yeah.
But I think that's so true. I know, and I can say, my daughter and I laugh all the time. She is one of the funniest people I know. And we talk about how my mom was a hilarious person, not because, she was like a comedian, but just because she could laugh at herself. She could laugh at her own mistakes she was
I
just
love that.
such a joy
Yeah.
to be around. And we talk about, like, my daughter caught my mom Nana, and we just talk about even now how funny Nana was and how we would just come around Nana and we would just laugh because she was so much fun to be around. That's like, like you said, that's how I want to be,
Yeah, I have. I think I don't remember if I mentioned it, but in my mom's family, there were 8 girls and 4 boys. So there were 12 of
That's a
them.
big
That's a big
family.
family. And there are only 3 of them left of those 12. But my Aunt Patsy, and she must be 97. She's the funniest person you've ever met. Kim, I'm telling you, if I'm feeling low, I just call her. I don't even you can't get a word in edgewise, and everything she says is funny. And so I don't care how low you feel, she has you laugh. I mean, belly laugh. I say, Aunt Patsy, you can't say that. And she just says it. And then she'll say, because you can't get a word in edgewise, she'll say, well, you ought to call me more often. I won't talk so long. I won't have to tell it all at one time. She always ends the conversation after she's talked your ear off. I love being around her.
See, like you said, that's how I want people to see me, like fun to be around.
Yeah. She's never been a cranky, negative person. She hasn't. Okay, embrace new adventures, whether it's traveling, trying a new hobby, and we mentioned learning technology. Stepping out of your comfort zone. Youthfulness is about curiosity.
Yeah.
If you're still asking what's next, you're still young. What's next? What do we do now? You know how kids are?
Yeah.
My grandchildren will do something, and I'm thinking, I got this activity for them, right? And I got it all figured out. We're going to do this fun activity. And then my youngest granddaughter will say, what are we going to do now, Granny?
Like you're like, what?
I was like, I was going to take a nap.
Like, we just did it.
Yeah, we just did it. And then they can be eating. And I try to fix something that will stick with them, So, it's got to be hearty. So I do that, pancakes, fruit, bacon, whatever I can, eggs, just fill them up. An hour later, what are we going to eat now? So I guess that's what I thought about when I read this. If we're still asking, okay, well, I did that. What's next?
Right.
What can we do now?
Right. Use
Where
your
we're going
grandchildren
now.
as an example.
Yes.
Of what youthfulness
they
is.
show you what it means to be useful.
But that's not easy for a lot of people, that stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes, it's not.
Because it's our comfort zone because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And so when you step out of it, a lot of times you feel vulnerable.
You do.
And it can be kind of scary
It
sometimes.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liken it to, like, my daughter and I, we have this thing, this kind of, we understand this feeling how sometimes, like, if you've been, like, when I've been, I don't know, maybe had a cold or the flu, and so I've kind of been in the house, and then you kind of get into that, oh, I just get up every day, I drink my tea, I get to sit in front of the TV, I don't have to do anything. And then suddenly when you're well, and it's like, I got to go back out into the world, it's like I got to get up, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you're apprehensive, like I got to get back out there and back in the world.
Yeah.
And that's almost what it kind of feels like
It
when you, like, you're
does.
in your comfort
It
zone, and
does.
it's like, now suddenly I've got to try and do something different. But you have to do it, because then once you do, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, I remember how this felt, or how invigorating, or how rewarding this is. And so we always talk about having to get past that, I don't have to do anything. I just get to kind of sit here.
And that is comfortable.
Yeah.
It's really cozy and comfortable.
But you can get locked into that and not ever want to step out and do anything. So at some point, you got to, rip that comforter off, or, that blanket, and you got to get out there and you got to experience the world again.
Yeah, that's really a good point, because we're talking about it like it's easy, and it isn't, especially for a lot of people to take that, like we're saying, try new things. And it's like, that's terrifying to a lot of people. But start small.
Right.
Just do something really small. Maybe if we're talking about the cell phone, learn how to find your text messages and read them. Just start really small. And as you build confidence, you'll start to say, well, what's next?
Right.
I did that.
Right.
You remember when I was telling you how crazy it was when I was trying to learn how to do this podcast? That was a steep learning curve. And I remember feeling like, what have I got myself into? I'd gotten so far out there in the middle of the ocean that I couldn't go back to shore. So it's either drown where I am or start, swimming again. So I
Right.
had to try to get a floaty and try to keep going. But it was it still is a steep learning curve, but I can kind of get through it. I'm not doing all the bells and whistles, but if I'm thinking this won't be so hard. I always dive out there into this territory and then think, God, what have I
But then you're
done?
committed to it and
You're
you see
committed.
it through.
Yeah.
And I just want you all to know when Alexis talks about this podcast, you should see her lights and cameras. And then she has her laptop with all kinds of sound stuff hooked up and these microphones. And I sit here and I watch her and I'm so impressed with her ability to, now let me see how we're going to edit this and let me check the sound. So she is really mastering this whole podcast. Do not be fooled. I don't know where she started, but she's come a long way because I am impressed.
I started at 0 and regretted it. Like,
but you stuck with it and now look at you. I mean, it is like a mini studio in here. So just so you know.
And Kim, thank you for saying that. And it gives you motivation to ask what's next. Because every time you conquer some little thing you feel confident that I can conquer another little thing.
Right.
So start with just one little thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's see, what else do we need to stay youthful? Traveling is good if you like to travel. Yeah. Okay, self-care and style. So let me tell you what I've got down here and let me hear what you have to say about it. So under self-care and style, dressing in colors you love, keeping a fresh haircut, if that's what it is, or pampering yourself with spa days can boost confidence. Self-care and style.
I think that's so important. So I'm going to talk about the style first because I think what's liberating when you get older is you really get to determine your own style.
You do.
Because I think, when we're younger, it's like, oh, what's in fashion? What's everybody doing? And so there's that sense of I've got to do this. And you're not as confident or comfortable kind of stepping out of what that perceived norm of what everybody else is doing. But
or the rules.
Right, the rules, exactly. And kind of this, and whoever they are, they that set this mysterious
we don't even know who
but they set the rules that everybody, they say, but when you get older, it can be so liberating that you don't have to live by what they say. You get to decide what that is. I want to wear this.
Absolutely.
I like this color. I'm going to wear. So it's like, it's so liberating to get to determine what your own style is going to be and leaning into your own sense of style.
So true.
Whether it's physical, whether it's what you surround yourself with, how you decorate your space and that place that, is comforting and home to you. But I think, that's one of the benefits of being older, but yet still youthful is you get to decide, what that looks like, what I want to look like. So I think that's the one thing, but I think it is important to take care of yourself because there's so much that comes from paying attention to you. Because I think particularly as African-American women, we care for everybody else and we put our own needs and our own care on the back burner. And so I think, when you are a senior and you've reached this age, it's so important to put yourself first now and whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah, I think that's so true. As I was thinking about this whole idea, style, oh my God, you hit the nail right on the head. It is so much fun deciding what I want to wear that day without any voices in my head saying, well, you should be wearing this.
Right.
Or this color or this thing, whatever that is. I like that, so I'm wearing that. And then I put it on and I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah.
And if I feel good, happy makes me youthful.
Right.
Right? Now, in terms of self-care, this is kind of a side issue, but it was bothering me. There are times when we shrink ourselves This is what I mean by that. We have these abilities and skills and talents and gifts that we've been given or we've developed over the years, but somebody is uncomfortable with what we can do, right? And so we minimize ourselves to make someone else feel comfortable.
Mhm.
That's not self-care.
No.
If you have this talent, you have this talent. Grateful for it and use it. It was given to you to use,
Yes.
right? You have a gift to use it, and not be threatened by someone who is threatened by you,
Right.
right? But we do that a lot. Do you remember, I don't know if you saw that movie, Emmett Till, the one that came out a few years ago.
Mm.
I remember this scene where he was getting ready to go to Chicago and his mother, he's a rambunctious teenager, and his mother was saying, Emmett, I need you to be small. I think those are the words I need you to be small. He didn't understand. All of us knew exactly what she was getting at.
Don't draw attention to
Don't
yourself.
draw any attention to yourself. And he had this vibrant personality, fun-loving kid, but he needed to shrink himself for his own safety.
Yeah.
Right. And so we find ourselves doing that now, even if it's not a real threat to us. We do it because it's going to make somebody else feel better or they feel more secure. But I'm not responsible for their security.
Exactly.
I'm not. And why should I shrink myself, make myself small so somebody else can feel okay?
Exactly. And I think the other important thing is to realize that if me being who I am and me displaying my skills and talent is a threat to you or makes you uncomfortable, then you aren't really for me, because people that are for me, that really truly care for me, that love me, they want to see me be all that I can be.
Absolutely.
They're my cheerleaders. They're the people rooting me on. They're the people that are more proud of my accomplishments than I am.
And pushing you to do more.
Exactly.
You
And
got
so
more
those
inside
are the
of you.
people that
Yes.
you need to be surrounding yourself with. And so if there are people in your life that don't want to see you be all that you can be, then you need to really examine those relationships and decide who are the people that you need to be with? Who are the people that you need to surround yourself with? Because I know the people in my life that I love and care for, I couldn't be happier for them. I want to see them succeed.
Absolutely.
I want to see them blossom and bloom. And so I can't even imagine not wanting somebody that I care about to be successful. So that means you got to really examine those people in your life.
And why don't we, instead of being envious, how did you do that?
Exactly.
Right? Like if I bake a really good cake, she thinks she's something because she can bake a cake. Well, if you want to bake this cake, ask me for the recipe. I'll show you how to do it.
I will sure, because I want to share this with you.
I want to share. It gives me joy.
Yes.
Whatever I am, it brings me joy to share that.
Exactly.
So when someone says, Alexis, show me how to, I am happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but there are people who are afraid there's not enough room at the top, whatever that means for both of us.
Exactly.
So I've got to keep you down.
That's right.
Yeah. That's not self-care.
No, that's not self-care. And that's not somebody that cares for you.
Yes. And you are right. You do need to examine who do you serve, who's in your inner circle.
Yeah.
Now, there are people that may be in your outer circle for whatever reason, but who is in your inner circle?
Right.
You need cheerleaders.
Right.
You need cheerleaders. My aunt, Catherine, she passed away a couple years ago. She was one of my cheerleaders. She just thought I could do anything. I said, I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. She would make you believe you could do anything.
Yeah.
And my brother and my younger son, they're the same way.
Yeah.
You could do that. I said, I want to do this, but I don't know how. They will help me. But it's like, you got to do this. If you want to do this, do that.
Yeah.
And my brother Stan, before I moved to Atlanta from Cleveland, I remember struggling with the decision. I mean, uprooting from all that I knew and was from, talking about a comfort zone. I had this vision that I needed to move to Atlanta with 2 little boys, me and 2 little boys. But I was so scared. And I remember talking to him and he says, do it. Just do it. If that's what you want, do it. I was like, this is going to be hard. Yeah, but just
What
do
made
it.
you feel that you wanted or needed to do that?
I felt like, that's a good question. At that point in my life, I just felt like I had, for whatever reason, hit a brick wall, like a dead end in my life. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's like whatever Cleveland had for me, it was over. And I felt that to my core. And I wasn't excited about uprooting because me and 2 little boys, but I really felt strongly that that's what I should be pursuing. So after I talked to Stan, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to teach another year, another school year. If I still have this burning desire to move, I'm going to do it. And I did. And it was hard. Just because you have this desire or goal or mission or vision doesn't mean you're not going to encounter obstacles. I did. It was hard. But I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our last one. Purpose and passion. Having a reason to get up in the morning, whether it's gardening, mentoring, creating something, keeps the spirit alive. How important is purpose and passion to keep us youthful?
I think it's critically important. It's what drives us. Like you said, it's what makes us want to get up in the morning, makes us want to, be here still.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that you said, kind of mentoring, I think that is something, because sometimes people think about what can I do? What do I have to offer? And just your life's experiences is something to offer. And so I think a lot of times people overlook the value that, just having lived your life, your experiences,
Absolutely.
what you can share with someone, good, bad, different, decisions that you made, why, that so much, they can get so much from that. And so I think sometimes just realizing, that if you mentor, if you volunteer at a school or at a youth center, at a boys and girls club, just your presence there can mean so much to so many, especially to children who may not have stable families or homes or grandparents or older adults in their lives. And so it doesn't require any skill set other than that you just showing up as who you are,
sharing
yourself and your story with someone. Brings so much purpose and meaning to your life to know how just who you are can impact so many.
You'd be surprised how many lives you impact by just doing that, sharing of yourself and sharing your story. Everybody has a story.
Everybody
I love
has
to
a
hear
story.
people's stories.
Yeah.
I do. I will sit at their feet and just listen. And you're always surprised that this is this person's story. If you were to try to write a story about their life before they shared it, it would be nothing like what really happened. Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I love, like, I learned you were I would never, nobody could have told
Now, why
me.
wouldn't you have thought I was a
I
cheerleader?
don't know. Maybe because I haven't seen you do any cartwheels. You should still be cartwheeling in here.
No.
Oh, yeah?
All 4 years of high school.
That is amazing. I love that. So there you have it. Staying young isn't about turning the clock back. It's being where you are and enjoying life to the fullest. Whoever you are, be that person and be the best you can be. And the key word is youthful, not young.
Right.
Because the clock is going to tick.
Right.
The numbers are going to change. But
which is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
We can't stay the same age.
That's right.
Yeah. But we can decide to have a positive outlook, to be engaged in life,
to take care of ourselves,
to have relationships, friendships. We're going to talk about that. We really need to talk about the importance and the joy of having good friends. Yeah. My mom used to say, you can count good friends on one hand.
That's true.
Yeah. So we'll talk about friendships.
You can have a lot of acquaintances.
Yes.
But not nearly
friends.
as many friends.
Not nearly as many friends. So anyway, keep the passion, keep the fire burning. If it's not burning, light it. Light it. It's time to get going.
That's right.
It's time to start living, and it's time to go back to being youthful. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Get Real with Alexis. And we are so appreciative that you were here. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We love your comments and share. And Dr. Kim and I will see you next time.
See you next time.